Our hometown is in Shandong, which has been a famous fruit-producing area since ancient times. The story happened in the 1980s. At that time, there were many farmers who grew watermelons in the village. When the watermelons were ripe, they would go to the watermelon fields to build sheds. Guarding the watermelon is not only to prevent people from stealing it, but wild boars on the mountain will also come to eat watermelon. Zhao Dezhu from the village is one of the melon watching teams. Every night he stayed in the melon shed. That night, he was sitting bored at the door of the melon shed to enjoy the shade to pass the time, when he suddenly heard the sound of eating watermelon in the melon field, and Zhao Dezhu looked over there. He saw a black figure lying in the melon field, eating watermelon. Even though it was dark, Zhao Dezhu could still see that it looked like a person eating happily. This made Zhao Dezhu very angry. Shouted. Seeing that the man didn't respond, he picked up a small stone and threw it over. It was a coincidence that the small stone was so accurate that it hit the figure's forehead. But what came next was not a human voice, but a strange squeaking cry. Zhao Dezhu, who had always thought that someone was stealing watermelon, was stunned when he heard it. Could it be that it was not a human being? Sure enough, the guy stood up after being beaten. His movements and postures were very strange, his limbs were thin and long, he was as tall as a person, and his eyes glowed with green light in the dark night. Zhao Dezhu couldn't see it either. What was it? He didn't know how to react. Zhao Dezhu didn't move. That thing jumped back and forth in the melon field, very agile, and finally ran closer and closer, and a strange cry rushed towards Zhao Dezhu, which frightened Zhao Dezhu, but he didn't panic. He reached out and grabbed a shotgun from behind the door. Guns were not banned at that time. And there were quite a few families with air guns and shotguns in the countryside. Seeing that thing was getting closer, Zhao Dezhu didn't care to aim, and shot straight ahead, and then heard a scream. Zhao Dezhu was shocked by the shotgun and his ears hurt. He opened his eyes to look. But he didn't know where it was. Where the thing was hit, it screamed and ran around in the melon field, and soon jumped onto a big tree beside the melon field, and quickly disappeared into the forest. It disappeared, and Zhao Dezhu was a little shocked at this moment. But he didn't figure out what it was in the end. Some people would say, "Isn't that a monkey?" But you must know that there are no monkeys in our hometown, which made Zhao Dezhu nervous for a few days, but later the melons were sold, and corn was planted again, and nothing happened. Autumn time. Zhao Dezhu was hugging his little grandson to enjoy the cool air in the middle of the village. The child had just been sent back to the village by his parents who were working in the city. He was fat and chubby, and he couldn't speak well. He was just the cutest age. At that time, a group of ants from the village were surrounding Zhao Dezhu to look after the children. At this time, someone behind the scenes praised the child to Zhao Dezhu in a hoarse voice, and then hugged the child from Zhao Dezhu's hand. This was normal, and Zhao Dezhu didn't think much about it. He also happily wanted to turn around and explain a few words to the person who was holding the child, but Zhao Dezhu was stunned for a moment when he turned around. The hand holding the child had black hair on his arm, and he was wearing thick clothes on a hot day. Zhao Dezhu didn't know this person. Who is it? He raised his head to see that person's face clearly. He was terrified when he saw it. Under the flowered kerchief was a long, strange face covered with hair. A pair of glowing eyes were staring fiercely at him. Looking at Zhao Dezhu, he bared his teeth even more fiercely. Before Zhao Dezhu could react, he yelled, "The mountain ghost!" The mountain ghost stole the child. That thing jumped very high, and jumped onto the roof with the child in its arms. This time Zhao Dezhu remembered that the older generation often talked about mountain ghosts. The thing that snatched the child was most likely the mountain ghost. At this time, the mountain ghost said viciously, "You killed my child, and I will eat your child too." Zhao Dezhu finally understood the reason of the matter. Seeing more and more people coming, the mountain ghost turned around and ran away with the child in his arms. This made Zhao Dezhu very anxious, so he asked the villagers to chase after him. Fortunately, a young man from the village reacted quickly and chased him to the entrance of the village. Fired a shot, and hit the mountain ghost on the back. After the mountain ghost was shot, he threw away the child and ran away. The child was finally rescued. I saw the child when he grew up. There are 3 long scars on his face, which are said to have been scratched by the mountain ghost at that time.